And now I have the honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Kelley Brooke. Sarah and I met Kelley in 2019 when we went to Bethpage to pitch the WMGA independent membership and Girls to the T program. We realized quickly what a powerhouse Kelley is. She juggles several balls in the air and certainly does not let the grass grow under her feet. From a child golf prodigy to an instructor, to a golf personality and a business entrepreneur, Kelley Brooke has done it all and continues to do so at warp speed. In 2018, she became the director of golf at Bethpage, winning a 20-year management contract over 10 competitive bids from male-owned management companies and the PGA. She was also named that same year as the Club Professional of the Year by the LPGA Teaching and Club Professional Membership. She heads the Golf Channel Academy and is a familiar on-screen golf personality. Katie Renoff, our team competition chair, and I will serve as moderators as we settle into a fireside chat with the one and only Kelley Brooke. Please hold your questions until the end during our Q&A session. Kelley, welcome.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, Kelley, you are, as I said, a powerhouse when it comes to this. But I'm gonna ask you to go back to the very beginning and tell us if the rumor is true that your mother put a putter in your crib.
That is absolutely true. I have to tell you, I don't know if it was a putter or a 7-iron, but I think a putter sounds better, so I always say that. But my mom was the city and state, the city champion, our club champion when I was growing up. My grandparents played. Well, I'm going to say my grandfathers played, my dad played, my grandmothers were best friends. So their idea was playing golf was that they would straddle the hole with their feet. And so if the ball went anywhere remotely close to the hole, it would go in. So they were good for each other. But it was destined for me to become a golf pro. I don't think I even had a choice. I'm happy that it was my choice, but I don't think I had a choice.
Well, that's
so after your crib putting lessons, what was next after that led you to college golf at the Hawkeyes?
Well, luckily, you know, I grew up in Iowa, so you wouldn't think that in Iowa we had a great program, but a club program. I mean, after listening to all of you for the last 45 minutes, I realized how impressive, I've always known how impressive the WMGA is, but now I'm even more impressed because growing up in Iowa, we had great inter-club tournaments. Girls golf I'm talking about the 70s, was very, very strong. I was, you know, of course, a top player in the club division, kind of like Alexis, hi Alexis, but it was kind of destined that I started touring, I think. I played in my first national junior tournament when I was like 8 or something. And then my whole family would pack up. By the time I was 13, we were traveling. Back then, there was only the AJGA, no hurricane tour, none of these other satellite tours like we have now. So I was always destined to play. I was a good golfer at a young age. I won the state tournament at some point. And then I was recruited to college. But honestly, I was such a mama's girl and a family person. I couldn't go too far away. So University of Iowa was an hour away. And I don't think that you guys understand how big college sports are in the rest of the country. We don't have a professional team in Iowa. We have Chicago Bears and, you know, whatever Minnesota team and St. Louis team. But college sports in the Midwest are so important. So when you grow up in Iowa, to go to University of Iowa and be a Hawkeye, it's like a dream come true. And I got a full ride, which didn't hurt anything. So so I went there and it was just a dream come true. You would think that a good golfer wouldn't want to go to a northern school, but I've always been an advocate, and we tell our junior golfers this at Bethpage, that they tell their parents this, that kids need a break once in a while. So you can't do things 12 months out of the year. You'll burn your kids out.
Absolutely. And then immediately after college, did you turn pro?
Well, what happened was I left and I went on the mini tours. It was called the Futures Tour back there. Back then it's the Symetra Tour now. And I played on the Players West Tour, which was out in California predominantly. And after a year and a half, I just realized that this wasn't for me. You know, when I was at University of Iowa, I was a Big Ten school. We had trainers, we had sports psychologists, we had a team to travel with, we had people washing our uniforms. You know, it was a whole different ballgame. And not that I was a spoiled child, I wasn't. I can't be the person I am today if I were spoiled. But it was just lonely out there, you know, and the people you were hanging with were the people that you were competing with, and we weren't making any money. And I just decided, I met a bunch of people that lived in New Jersey, and I gave lessons. I gave one lesson once in a while, this driving range in Weehawken, New Jersey, overlooking Manhattan. And a girl from Iowa was loving that experience. You know what? Right? Oh, you did. It's like, it was an amazing experience. And I was making $25 an hour, which, you know, it's good by anyone's standards ever in life. But when you think about it in the early 90s, you know, again, that was a lot of money, but golf pros now make on average in the Met section $150 an hour. So really it was nothing. And then I stayed in New York and built a clientele that way.
And speaking of your clientele, I know my daughter plays, she's a sophomore in high school, and she had the pleasure of meeting you actually at Seaview at the PGA Junior League a couple of years ago. She was on one of the other teams.
We won't say what team it was, but.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It wasn't the winning team. Let me just put it that way.
Can you talk about how you've been developing junior golfers and junior girl golfers more importantly tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I first moved to New York, there was no junior golf. I know, except at the country club level, which it seems hard to believe because I came here in the early 90s, but there was no public women's golf, you know, and now I know you guys all compete against the ladies from Staten Island. That's where I ended up making my career. But there was no real women's golf. There was no junior golf. And so instantly I said, this has got to change. I grew up with such a robust women's and junior program in Iowa. You know, I'm in the biggest city in the country, and you don't have golf for women and juniors. I couldn't believe it. So the first thing I did was I went out and I started a not-for-profit called the New York City Junior Golf Club. And I knew, because I was a little brash back then, because I was in my early 20s, aren't we all brash at that point? So I was like shaking up the world. I was an outsider coming into this very close-knit community of Staten Island and Brooklyn, where everyone knew everybody, and American Golf was running things at the time, and they did not want women and kids on their courses, because if they had a clause in their contracts, if a junior played, they only had to pay like $10, maybe less back then. I think it was like $4, and they didn't want women, you know, holding up the course. So I went against them. And the way I did that was I didn't do it by myself. I went out and I recruited the most influential golfers and attorneys and just golfers in general in Staten Island and Brooklyn, and asked them to be on my board of directors. And then I put Tom Flanagan, who was he was the advance writer. He was the golf writer for the Staten Island Advance. Very important man. We ended up being incredibly close friends forever, which was my first realization. You got to be close to the press to get anywhere. But anyway, I put together this team of very important golfers that American golf really couldn't go against. And believe me, it was contentious. They hated it, but eventually we won, and we grew that in just a year or two into almost 200 and something junior golfers in Staten Island and Brooklyn alone. So we went from 0 to 250. Literally, there were no kids playing golf. So it wasn't like I was recruiting kids like I did at Bethpage for the New York Junior League, like that already played. I had to teach them what a golf club was, and then build this club. So, and that was, as I said, in the mid 90s or so. And that's how I got my start in women's and junior golf. And then it just grew from there.
Well, I have to say, in regards to that, you know, yeah, it is surprising that the metropolitan area didn't have that robustness from that regards, yet it had it in other areas of the country. But then how did you divert and also, if you will, dovetail into the business portion where you've did paddle boards, restaurants, entertainment? How did you develop your business sense? Because first of all, I want to say hats off, because it's kind of like teachers, they're really good at their subject and they can't teach very well, or vice versa. You do both fantastically. How did you develop your business sense, and how do you know where to go?
Well, here's what happened. I realized that I love teaching. I love the golf swing. I love everything about it, which is partly why I left tour, because I would rather sit and practice all day. I mean, to this day, I could sit and watch people's golf swings. And I could watch Adam Scott's golf swing in slow motion for 2 hours. It's kind of like watching TikTok to me.
Yeah.
So I was really in love with the golf swing, but I knew it's very hard life. I was teaching at Staten Island Golf Practice Center, which was positioned between a dump and a prison. And if the wind was blowing the wrong way, it wasn't pleasant. And then I had this prisoner he was learning to play the trumpet or something, and he would set up right at the fence, and you would practice one line of this trumpet for, I would say, 8 hours a day. And it was just getting on my nerves, and I was getting sunburn on one half of my face because the sun was always on that. And it was just like, it was great on one hand because I had a 3-week waiting list and I was making a lot of money and I was popular and it was so fulfilling, but it was still miserable. So I knew that I didn't really want to spend my life on the lesson tee. I wanted to do it on my terms, not because I had to. So in 1993, I got an index card out and I wrote what my goals were. And I said in 10 years, now this is 1993. I said in 10 years, I am going to own my own facility. And then I went backwards and I said, well, how am I going to do that? Well, let's start with junior golf programs. Then let's start a not-for-profit. Then let's go and we'll work with the PAL, which is 4,000 kids with special, with economically disadvantaged. Then I started a program for New York City Department of Ed, children with special needs. And this is all voluntarily, and I got to know the media. But this is all, I don't want to say that it was calculated. It wasn't. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed giving away. Just like, look at all those volunteers you just talked about, Carol, Beth, and Teresa. I mean, they do that selfishly. I was doing it selflessly also, but at the end of the day, I knew that was a means to an end. And you can do both. And anybody that says you can't do both, it's just not realistic. You can do things for the right cause, and then at the end of the day, be rewarded. It's not a bad thing. It's the way the world works. So in 2002, someone said Brooklyn Golf Center is up for bid. It was a federal concession, and they put out an RFP that was about this thick. And I spent literally 1 year writing this thing because I wanted to give lessons when I wanted to give lessons, but I wanted to be the owner. The owner of Staten Island Golf Practice Center would go play golf every day and then check in at night. I wanted to be a harder worker than that. Not that he was not a hard worker. He was there a lot. But I wanted a different life for myself. So I spent a year locked up writing this proposal. In my mind, I was going to do everything I could to win this. And if I didn't, I left my blood on the playing field. And in 2003, 10 years from the date I wrote that index card, that 10 years from now, I'm going to have my own facility. They gave me a call and said that I won Brooklyn Golf Center and Reese Park Golf Course. And so that was the start of my entrepreneurship, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then I went on to put a bid in for Alley Pond Golf Center in Queens. And then I put a bid in for Randall's Island Golf Center in Manhattan. And then someone said, well, Bethpage is up for bid. And in my mind, I said, no, I can't do that. And I talked to people and they said, just try it. You have nothing to lose. And I only had 2 weeks to write the proposal because I didn't even know it was up for bid. And I ended up winning it. I beat the PGA Tour. And remember, we are in an old boys club. Yep. And I beat the PGA Tour to win Bethpage. And then after that, I don't know, my dad was an entrepreneur. I grew up, with this up and down lifestyle where sometimes it was up, sometimes it was super down. And I built a stomach for that because you got to have a stomach for entrepreneurship. I mean, you mentioned I had a restaurant. It didn't go so well. I ended up selling it for probably a little bit of a loss. Some things work, some things don't, but you have to know that you have the stomach to ride that awful, awful high and low roller coaster. I could never work for someone. First of all, I'd be fired the first day because I'd probably go tell someone to F off or something. No one can fire me when I say that now, right? So that's my main motivation, I think. So anyway, I think it was from my dad, and building that, and also athletics. I mean, when you're an athlete, you learn how to compete, and you get, I don't know, it's like the chicken or the egg. Do athletics teach you to be competitive, or are you competitive and you play athletics? I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of both.
No, I agree. But I have to say that, as you're talking, it's like, yep, those are all the business words and you got it. And it was great that you were able to see, hey, if I've got this microphone in front of me, I'm going to talk about my strategy. So you really just played what everybody, and you learned from B school, but you really played it well. And like you said, it was probably from your dad in regards to that, but it just dovetailed with golf so well. So that's great. I'd like to switch a little bit focus to the legends. I know you and I spoke about the legends just prior to COVID hitting, and COVID had this, obviously it derailed stuff. I want to ask you about the legends, but I thought maybe first you could talk to the audience about what the program is and what it's trying to do, and also then talk to you about what could we do as WMGA members with the Legends Tour.
Great. So the Legends Tour was started several years ago as a means for any female over the age of 50, and then they lowered it to 45 to continue to play competitive golf. And it got off to a little bit of a good start, but then it kind of fizzled. And it's very disappointing that it fizzled. But now there's a resurgence, especially I believe, and I'm speaking out of turn because I'm not running the Legends Tour, and basically I'm an outsider in the Legends Tour. I'm a member, but I wasn't on tour to the extent that Jane Geddes and these people are. So I don't want to speak for them.
Right.
But to me, it's disappointing in this day and age that we can't find enough money to give women proper golf tournaments. And I'm not talking about millions of dollars. Bernhard Langer, there was an article, I think I shared it with you, Lori, this week, that he's won 4 times what he won as a PGA Tour player after the age of 50. He won $40 million playing as a 51 to whatever he is now year old, because the corporate sponsors gravitate towards them. I have to say that it's very disappointing to me in this day and age that if you're over a certain age, you're disregarded as not worthy or unattractive, or just not commercially viable. And I mean, I would much rather go out and watch Helen Alfredson play than some of the tour players that are on tour currently, because I know her, she's a personality. I go to watch golf because of the personalities. So it's just very disappointing to me that Bernhard Langer, maybe he'll sponsor us, but Bernhard Langer is making $40 million, and we're in danger this year of not having an LPGA senior championship because we can't raise the money. It's mind-boggling. If you go to Instagram, if any of you are on Instagram, and search women's golf, you know what's going to come to the top? Girls who I don't discredit them because they're smart girls. It comes up with golf babes or these women who are wearing half of an outfit. They're spandex. They've got double D breasts, long legs, and they're holding a golf club, and they're getting 1 million views and 500,000 likes. Now, again, kudos to them because they know how to play the game.
Right.
But when in this world are we, a majority of your WMGA members are probably my age or older. When are we going to be seen as attractive, viable commercial women? And I believe it's never going to happen until this group of people, and this is one of my male friends said this to me, not me, when the fat CEO who's sitting behind a desk smoking a cigar is out of power, and I believe, he goes, it's going to change. So now we have a new generation of men. If you're in your 30s, you're sensitive, you're politically correct, and it's because you want to be, not because you have to be. And you're supportive of your wife and her career. When those men are in power of companies and sponsorship dollars, then we're going to see a change. And not until then, I don't believe.
No, and I agree with you. And what's so ironic is in my business world, is when we talked about the power of the dollar, in most families, the woman owns the purse string, or at least dictates where it goes. So it's
Right.
kind of funny that the commercialism from the sponsors kind of looks at the men's stuff when, wait a minute, it's the women. So it is a combination, like you said, that we, the women ourselves, we have to make sure that we are supporting the women and the women's sports. And I have to say this one thing, Kelley, when I've gone to a women's event, I love it. Now, again, it's because you could get so close, so up close and personal.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you could even stop and take a quick picture, and you don't necessarily get that with the guys where they're all inside the ropes and hands off and stay away. But
And, you know, they won't even speak to you if you do get them in, you know, after the round. It's just the egos are so big on in some of these professional sporting events that the legends really appreciate when they have a tournament. They appreciate that they're there and people actually come and see them, and it's genuine. It's not forced.
Yep. No, and when the legends, and just for the audience, we are working with Kelley to see when the legends is going to be coming to Bethpage, and we'll certainly let every one of our membership know so that not only can they go there, but if they want to volunteer or go on the Pro-Am and actually spend some time with one of the pros or the legends and playing around, that would be available to them. So I'm really looking forward to that. A question in regards to when you talked about the cigar smoking, we had some folks go to Brooklawn. That was the site of the third U.S. Senior Women's Open, and you qualified, and you were part of an incredible field. And again, people got up close and personal. And I was shown a photo of you walking by with your cigar as they were watching you play there. How do you like playing in the seniors? You're mixing, playing, and going. How do you juggle all of that with everything that you do? Like I said before, the grass does not go green under your feet.
It doesn't. Well, you know, I'm not going to win a Legends tournament anytime soon, but I'm just so happy that I'm able to qualify. So I think in golf, and this is a good message to and I teach this every day, it's easier said than done. In golf, when you want something too much, it's not going to happen. It's just you're putting this barrier in front of yourself. Your muscles get tight. Your heart rate gets going. When I was playing on the Legends Tour, on the Futures Tour and in college and as a junior, I was putting too much pressure on myself. And now later in life, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's just fun, kind of like giving lessons to me. And my life isn't dependent on it. My livelihood is just fun. And I'm finding great success because I have no expectations. When you have expectations of yourself, you put the pressure on yourself. That's when things go wrong. So the playing of golf, I love it. It's like my second chance at being on tour. So that's all fun and good. I do practice a lot during the season. I'm not going to lie about that. I prioritize when it's time to do things. I'm almost like a little Asperger with it. Like I do it 110%. Like right now I'm into birdie spot. We're writing a couple, Megan, this spring, I said to my coaches at Bethpage, Megan and Lorianne, you've been on the show. You're almost a co-host. And Justin, who has our junior show, I said, you know what we're missing here? I said, we don't have any radio shows. They go, oh, you want a podcast? I said, no, I want radio shows. And within a week, we actually had radio shows. I ordered all the equipment. I hired the company. We were broadcast from Boston down to Philadelphia. And we just went big with it because I'm at a stage in my life. I'm making a ton of money and I want us to do what we want to do and we're going to do it. And then not yesterday, but recently I said to them, you know, now what we're missing, we haven't written books. So now the three of us are writing a book together, or actually two books. Birdie Spot I'm sitting right now in my living room in Florida, but I have a control panel in front of me because I was just remotely producing a live stream on Birdie Spot, a golf fitness show. So, you know, there's just so much out there to do. And people that say they're bored in life, they're just not making the most of their life. You know, they're just not. There's so many hours in a day. Believe me, I'm going to kill a bottle of wine after this, you know? Actually, you said I could drink wine, so here it is. So, you know, You can fit everything in. There are many hours in the day. Just stop making excuses and do it. Your group are a bunch of women that are go-getters. Look at what I witnessed before I got on, and you know, Diane and Carol and Beth and you, Lorianne. I mean, you're one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And then when you're not doing this WMGA, you're volunteering at USGA qualifiers. I see you and Sarah everywhere. So I don't need to tell you, and I guarantee you, I don't need to tell the rest of your association what you need to do to get ahead in life. But the number one thing is that I literally enjoy every single thing I'm doing. And if I'm not enjoying it, I don't do it. So.
No, that's great. And actually, we did talk about the radio shows, and we put the ones that myself or Diane had done on our podcasts. And I said to folks, hey, if you got any Thanksgiving long drives, take one of those podcasts and listen to them. But so I know you've done Birdie Spot and you've done that. And that was something that, like you said, it was done overnight. And I got the call from Megan saying, can you come out to Bethpage? I have to say 7 o'clock was early, but I made it. But how did those ideas come to you? I mean, you've got the book coming, you've got Birdie Spot. What else do you have? You have anything else that you kind of thinking about beyond the Birdie Spot in the book?
Well, the whole reason Birdie Spot really came to be was it was COVID. It was March when COVID was starting, and we had a lot of members. We have an instructional program. We're a public facility, but we call them members, where they pay us X amount of dollars every month, and we work them out 3 times a week, and they have lessons 3 times a week, and it's a program. And when COVID started, I said, holy moly, we're going to lose all of our members. We got to do something. So Megan and Justin and I went out and we filmed like a bunch of video and lesson videos. And then we filmed assignment videos, and we filmed troubleshooting videos, so that when they were at home, they could actually continue the program, even though we weren't seeing them live. And then I said, well, why? And we put it on on this website. And I said, well, why are we doing this just us? Like, let me because Golf Channel was kind of, hedging their bets and going more towards tournaments than instruction. I said, let me go get my Golf Channel friends, and you guys make calls, and let's invite other people to contribute. And then that grew into this monster where we have literally live shows. They're literally live, where someone can come in like a Zoom, and it's on our site, but they can ask questions. And then we attached a shop to it. And then, it's just grown exponentially. And then we said, well, that's when I said, let's do Birdie Spot Radio now. And then we got a guy, and now we're going to do a newsletter for anyone who subscribes to Birdie Spot. And then again, I said, well, let's take all this content and write books with all of it. So that was how Birdie Spot started. And then, of course, you brought the legends up. I have it in the calendar next year, mid-September, to have a legends tournament at Bethpage. But, to be honest with you, it's going to come down to sponsorship. And I'm not talking about Bernard Longer money. I'm talking about if I could raise $500,000 and spread it out just to cover the ladies' expenses of getting there, I'd be happy. So that's something that we've got going. That's really taking up most of I know what I'm also rebuilding Bethpage's range and building a golf fitness center and an indoor range, so we can be 12 months out of the year. So, I think that's enough for right now. Oh God, I got to have a glass of wine.
Have a glass of wine, because I'm going to open up the Q&A so that Sarah can add to that. But before I do, I want to just ask you, because we announced earlier in our business meeting that we're going to have 2 golf events. We do Top Golf. We're doing New Jersey in, I think, the end of January, and we're doing the Top Golf in Long Island. Now, I have no idea how far that is, Holtzville from Bethpage, but you are more than welcome as our guest to come that day. I think it's March 5th, right, Sarah?
Correct.
Yes. I don't know if you've gone there. Have you seen that facility?
I haven't seen that one specifically because I'm always out of town. We had a team group event go there, and I drove past it one day, but I haven't actually been there. But it sounds, I think that Top Golf is the best thing that ever happened to golf in general, and Drive Shack and all the ones. They're bringing the 15 million people went to a Drive Shack, a Top Golf type facility last year that never had been in golf, even held a golf club before. Now it's my job through Birdie Spot. It's your jobs as WMGA to take that interest and cultivate it and keep them there. It's your head pros at your club who, you know, you have a ladies' day on Tuesday, right? And you can't play before noon. Enough of that.
Yeah.
And now you got to get to them and say, listen, guys, you don't get it. You don't get the fastest growing segment in golf right now are females, and they're the ones that are having the families, and they dictate the rules. The dad's going. When I was growing up, my dad went to the country club on Friday night, and I saw him on Sunday night. He went for dinner on Friday. He played 2 rounds of golf with cards in between on Saturday, did the same thing Sunday, and came home. Now, these guys can't get away with that. Their wives have voices. So you realize that the women are running this world, and these head pros who are 99.9% males need to get on board with that and understand who the decision makers are. And I think you as WMGA members need to explain that to them, because golf was dying until COVID very, very, very quickly. And it's going to be the kids, the family golf, and the women that bring it back.
Yep.
So
absolutely. And,
yeah.
and it's the women, it's the families. It's like you said, for the Northeast, it's 24 hours to do things like simulators. I know
Yeah.
a lot of clubs put simulators down there so that people could come in, and there's just as much as there are team matches, there's clubs playing each other, you know, through the electronic, you know, system. So
Very
yes,
cool.
that's really where we see a lot of it. Sarah, I think we see a couple of questions pop up. I'll take the first one. Someone wanted to know where you are in Florida, East Coast or West Coast?
I'm in Delray Beach,
Okay,
East Coast.
got it. And how long do you stay there till?
Well, I came down for a tournament, an LPGA tournament at the end of October, and I'm just making the most of it and staying at my house here until my family's coming down for Thanksgiving. Then I go to a tournament in Phoenix, then back to New York, and back January through March. So I might miss Topgolf, but
okay.
if I'm home, I will be there.
No problem. Okay, Sarah, what questions do we have?
So you said you're a cigar smoker. I am too. Does she have a go-to cigar is the question.
Well, Nat Sherman was my go-to cigar. They were based out of Manhattan, but they got discontinued. So now I'm into Ashton's because they're lighter and they're, you know, not as heavy. I can't do a heavy, especially if you combine it with a bourbon. I can't do like a dark brown cigar.
Good
Another
for you.
one here. How do you keep girls/women in golf once they start to have families and are still working?
Well, it's these Topgolf things that help, but also I think that, and this is something good for all of you WMGA members, is that because I know that you're in charge of you're on your committees at your course. I think that the first thing is anything female related has to be social first, golf second. Unless you're, you know, Alexis Hios or, you know, some of the ladies that won all these awards. And I know you're all competitive too, but you've been in the game forever, right? So anybody that's entering in, they don't want to be stressed out about their score and they don't want to do it alone, and they're not going to go take private lessons. You know, they like group everything, group. It's like, you know, oh, there's a happy hour afterwards with my friends, I'm there. And I know that sounds extremely sexist, and I'm a female. I don't think it is. Probably it would be if a man said it, but it's just the reality. Women do things differently. They're not, when they're learning something like golf, which is scary enough, they want to do it with friends. So be social first. Also, I think that clubs, as I said, need to have more family events. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 holes. It doesn't have to be a 9-hole or 18-hole. That's too long. Maybe clubs should say, all right, we're not keeping score, you know, like, okay, here's what we do with our junior golfers, because they get so consumed with the score. So we say to them, we're not keeping score. What we're going to do is you're going to put a happy face or a sad face on your scorecard. You're not going to keep score. I don't want to see a 5 or 6 or 10. I want to know how much you enjoyed that hole. And then all of a sudden, better golf starts happening because it's about the experience. It's not about the stress of, because it's an individual sport, right? So everyone's comparing themselves to everybody else. So that's not the way to attract people to this game.
Nope, agreed.
I don't have any further questions here, but if you have a question for Kelley, please put it in the chat or the Q&A. Someone's asking if the WMGA can host an event at Bethpage. We'd love to.
You can anytime you want. You know, what's the shame about it is that we only have, really, we have, well, we don't have leagues because it's a state property, but we do have two groups of Korean ladies. I say that just because 99 out of 100 of them are Korean. So it's not like I'm profiling, but it's just the truth. And I love these ladies, and somehow they get tea times, but outside events, yes. And the shame of it is that our courses are fairly long, because not until I got here did I ask for reasonable tee boxes that women could reach par fours into. And they started building them very quickly. And then this year I went in and I said, all right, I hate to play this female card, but we're on state property and no women play black or have the opportunity to play black because they can't carry the fescue. Yep. Right? So you have to make a change, because this is it's discriminatory. You know, I mean, I'm worried about having a Legends tournament. Some of those ladies might not be able to carry the fescue. So we are making changes at Bethpage to make it a lot more female friendly and accessible, with accessible distances. So you have an open invitation, but the calendar fills up very quickly. So text me soon and ask and put dates in front of me.
You got it.
I will add, we have hosted the women's public links in conjunction with the MGA on the red course before. So we've been on property, but we've got to get our members back.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with you, Kelley, in regards to the social aspect of it. And it is the way women think versus the way guys think.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely agree. And I'll tell a funny story as we're waiting for a second. We once, with Golf Genius, we had our display of the tournaments, of the tournament winners. And, you know, it was real time. So it had who was on top and who was on bottom. And we got a lot of feedback that they didn't like that, because, you know, women are very social, very, you know, the gathering, very level, and they didn't like to be, to see that. And when I was talking to a male colleague and I said, you know, our women didn't like that. He goes, well, I have a suggestion to say. And I said, what's that? And he says, well, tell them to practice more. And I'm like, well, you go home and tell that to your wife and then come back and tell me how well that worked out.
See how that works. Yeah.
Our solution was,
I ran a league in Brooklyn at Marine Park, and, you know, in almost every tournament I'm sure you've ever been to, there's always a trophy for the worst player. I think sometimes they call it the horse's ass. So I'm used to being with men all the time. No one takes offense to that. Everyone ribs their friend, and it's like a big joke. Well, we gave the trophy out, and this woman called me the next day and ripped into me, and I don't want that online, and I don't want my kids seeing that, and this and that. And, you know, and it's just that it's a different mindset. There's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just that there are differences. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Is that what that book is?
Absolutely. And next time I catch you over a glass of wine, I'll give you my little spiel about how it's different. But Sarah, I think we have one more question.
We've got a couple coming in. I'd love to hear other ideas on how to encourage women to participate in golf events, especially those that shy away from competition.
That's a tough one, because competition is all about your score, and it's about competition. I'd have to think about that one. I think honestly, right now, you got millions of women joining the game. Maybe you start with competitions that don't revolve around score. Like maybe you do more scrambles, and it's only like 3 or 4 hole scrambles. You don't want to overwhelm people. Golf is overwhelming. I mean, when I'm out with friends, we always quit after 12 holes. It's like too much. You know, we just want to get to the bar and have fun. So I think that just having more scrambles and more team events, and again, going back to that social aspect, that's how you suck them in. And then you hope it's like a feeder system, right? We have our junior golf. We have the group that comes in and you're paying, you know, $10 a lesson. And then we have the group that's paying more because you're getting more out of it. Then we have a group that's on our annual membership, and they're going up the ladder, and we lose a lot. But the goal is to just keep feeding them through the process until they get. The problem I'm seeing is that when I came here and then really started golf, that was in the early 90s, and the ladies were in their 40s then, and they weren't, a lot of them were still housewives. Remember the days when they were housewives? And so they have plenty of time to play golf. And I'm talking about the public, right?
Right.
It's hard now because everyone's working. Everyone is.
Yeah.
So you can't, and they're not going to give you 5 hours on a Saturday. They're just not going to do it. So you got to have late afternoon scrambles for 9 holes. Again, it's a feeder program. Just keep thinking it's a feeder program to get them into your tournaments. But what I was going to say is all those ladies that were domestic, they stayed home, are now too old to play golf. And now the new generation doesn't have time to play golf. So you got to think of shortening everything and then making feeder programs.
So have you tried Operation 36 at all at Bethpage to try to get women?
We haven't, just because it's Operation Kelley Brooke.
Okay.
Well, and actually, Kelley, the one that I thought of to get women, because like you said, we work with the LPGA amateur, like with Margaret, and we tried to get women who were starting to get their handicaps below 25. But like you said, they're very fearful of things. And I said, we have to have a 9 and wine, that no scoring, but like the first 3 holes are match play. The next 3 holes are scramble. And the next 3 is an alternate piner. So people, it's really there just to teach them what the different formats are. And
Right.
again, no scoring, just this is it, give them pointers, and have an A player with them. So they, I find that a lot of the elite players like Alexis, as you mentioned, are the ones that are so supportive of people no matter what their handicap is, and to play and just hit a ball. And if you're tired, just get up and throw it on the green and putt it out. Don't worry about it.
Right.
But yeah, we are looking at those.
And have an option where if you really don't play golf, we're going to have a pro there and you're going to do a clinic and we're all going to meet at the end. So you're including more ladies. I mean, when we do that with corporate events, if you're able to play and you want to play, you go play. If you don't, we're going to have a clinic for you. And then they all meet for drinks later. That way, if it's always corporate, you're not being excluded from the experience because you don't play golf.
Yep. And I absolutely agree with you in regards to putting the tees in the right spots, because I played with some women. One lady, Sadie, God rest her soul, she was 86, still played 3 times a week. And, she would just hit the ball straight down the fairway, goes 120 yards. So yes, she needed to get it out of the fescue, but she would just dink, 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 get it. And she would chip and putt like no one's business. And, that's what we need to do, is to make sure those tee boxes do allow them to get out there, that we're all not hitting it 180, 190, that we have the people that are 120. But no, that's great. And Sarah, do we have any more?
Yeah, let's just add this one. I'm the primary member of my club. However, the events on weekends are designed for men only. I'll play from the men's tees, but I'm still not invited. The ladies are fearful of the men playing with us on Tuesday's Ladies' Day if I get permission to be in the men's event. So how can I change this narrative?
It's such a hard thing. I mean, I belonged to a club a while back, and because I was a primary, I was allowed to play, and I'm a golf pro. I was allowed to play before noon and break the social rules and stuff. But it's uncomfortable. I'll tell you, I didn't want to play with them. I did and I didn't, but it wasn't a pleasant experience. So I don't know what the real answer to that is. I think you need to encourage your friends to join, and now you have 2 voices and 3 voices. I think you need to, the pro doesn't have any control over that, so don't go to the pro. I would get with the president of the club or the president of the golf committee and just say, listen, this is really uncomfortable. I know that and be diplomatic. I joined this club because it's not a sexist club, but I just want you to know that it just doesn't feel right. I mean, and also Susie Whaley was in our section, right? And she was a PGA member, and she would play in PGA, and the pro would get this because she used to play in PGA, Met PGA events, but she got her own set of tees because it's not realistic to think that we can play from their tees. Mm-hmm. So that's the first start. Just say, listen, you got to help me out a little bit. I want to play. I want to use my membership. I want to feel welcome. This is a social club, but I don't feel welcome. Can we at least start with letting me play my own tees and explain that the PGA of America does that all the time? The Met section does that. So why isn't my club doing that?
Yep, great point.
And also, I'll just add to that, Kelley, because I play a lot, just going on there and trying to get on, and I'll play with some guys, and I know there's two type of guys. Those guys that appreciate that you at least could hit the ball, and then there's those guys that keep thinking you can't hit better than me. But I will tell you the icebreaker that I use, and I think you're going to love this. When I start playing with the guys and we're walking away from the first hole, I say, guys, I have 3 rules. The first one is that cursing is allowed. The second rule is that cigars are optional. I got my own, thank you very much. And the third rule is, oh, I just forgot it. Wait a minute. Oh, dirty jokes are encouraged. Now, when you say that, at least it breaks the ice. I'm not sure if everyone listening on the phone call would agree to all 3 of those. But at that point, they're like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. And so then they play. So that's my icebreaker. Yeah.
Right. It's not like you're not infringing on their home time away from home and away from their wives where they can, let's face it, they're not being politically correct. They're telling dirty jokes. They're telling stuff that, you know, people might cringe at. That's the way the life is. And also, this is a little bit of a side note, but it's somewhat related. You know, one of the reasons I am who I am today is because my dad got me over those kinds of fears. When I would go in a tournament, and because I played with boys a lot growing up in different things, he'd say, or I'd go to a tournament and I'd be nervous, and he'd say, listen, no one is expecting you to do well, okay? If you hit a great shot, you exceed their expectations. If you don't hit a good shot, you satisfy their expectations. As women, they're going out there expecting that you're gonna top it about 75 yards, 8 times, and then you're gonna 3-putt. You're gonna exceed those expectations. Those are their expectations. You can't disappoint them. It's impossible.
Kelley, I think that is a great life lesson, and it's a great one to end on. And I want to thank you so much for your amazing story and your perspective on women's golf. I am cheering you with my little sippy cup here. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. And before closing, I want to just thank you for this. And we are going to be making a donation to your charity of your choice. We talked about the Legends, or we talked about the junior program, but we will be making a donation in honor of thanking you for this. So I really do appreciate it.
I'm going to tell you right now what my choice is. I'd rather have you give it back to your girls golf program.
Oh, thank you.
On top of that, I would like to start hosting some of your girls golf programs at Bethpage. So please keep us in mind.
Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kelley. That is a very generous offer, and we appreciate that. So thank you. And Kelley, enjoy the rest of your week and have a happy Thanksgiving. I did happen to see a little puppy put his head up behind us every once in a while. So I know that he's there. So I appreciate your time. Enjoy Florida. It's getting a little cold up here. And we'll keep in touch and let you know about the Top Golf in Long Island if you're able to make that.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you for having me tonight. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Kelley.